What's up guys, in this video I'm going to show you how to set up your Panasonic G7 for video. This camera is an absolute beast. For the price of $500 or whatever you can get it for, it's a great camera. Even just for beginners, this is my third camera now. It's way better than any of the Canon DSLRs so far. If you've seen those tests comparing it to the DSLR, you just know how great this camera is. The lens I have on this camera is the 25mm f1.7. Lets in a lot of light. It's kind of like the nifty 50 for the Canon DSLRs. It's a great lens, and on Amazon it's only $150 right now, so well worth the price. So like I said, this camera is absolutely fantastic, but there's a few settings you can tweak to get even better video. So the first thing we're going to do is turn on the camera. Make sure you're in the movie record mode. On the back of the camera you have this little dial here, which you can switch between autofocus modes or go to manual focus. I like to keep it on the AFS/AFF autofocus mode. That way you can half press the shutter button to grab focus very quickly. It's a lot faster than manual focus. I do like to manual focus, however with the Panasonic lenses, they're focused by wire, so it's just really weird to try to focus when you can just easily press the half shutter button and grab focus. So let's go into the menu, which is that menu set button at the back. Press that and now we're in the menu. First thing we're going to change is the photo style. So some of these are more saturated than others, but if you're going to shoot normal YouTube videos, I would go over into the natural menu and just use the default profile on natural. It gives a very detailed and saturated image, which you can just upload without doing any correction. But if you're like me, you want to adjust the colors a little bit more. So I actually go to the custom profile. I turn the contrast all the way down, the sharpness and the noise reduction and the saturation. This profile kind of replicates the Philip Bloom profile for the Canon DSLRs, where he would turn down the contrast and sharpness, and you just turn the saturation down a little bit. And it's like the same thing, only on Panasonic. You just get more flexibility with the contrast. And I turn down the noise reduction too, because if you're filming in a low light situation where it's dark, you can just see it kind of like makes your skin a little plasticky, which I don't really like. So if you just turn that down, then you get a more detailed image. You do get a little bit more grain, but I just prefer it this way. And saturation is down -2. I'm not sure why. I guess you could turn it down all the way, but I just have it on -2. So back into the menus, we'll go down to recording format and choose MP4. The record quality, most of the time I'm going to be shooting at 4K 24 frames per second. That gives the most cinematic feel. 100 megabits per second is not too compressed, but also is like a big enough file so that way you can do some color correction and you can push the footage a little bit where it won't fall apart. If I'm not shooting 4K, then I'm probably shooting at 1080 at 60 frames per second. That way I can get 40% slow motion going down to 24 frames per second. I shot my Santa Monica Pier film at 60 frames per second, and you can see how it's slowed down just a bit. I don't mess with any of the highlight, shadow, eye dynamic, or eye resolution. I just keep those off. That's it for the first sub menu. Let's go down to the custom. And page 5 is zebra pattern. I have zebra 2. It shows which parts are overexposed or clipping, so I can keep those highlights intact. And that's pretty much it for the menus. If I go back to the live view mode, on the bottom right corner, there's the record time. Now this is probably different on your Panasonic G7. It probably says something like 29 minutes, 59 seconds. Well, you can put your G7 into a service mode to give you unlimited 4K recording. So it just fills up till the card is full or the battery's dead. And it's free, and it's not really hacking your camera, it's just using what's built into it. So I really like that you can shoot unlimited 4K. It's really good for interviews.
Sorry, I didn't know. Put on your video, okay?
Shut the door.
Bye, people who you're talking to.
The only negative effect with the service mode is when you turn it off, you get this little caution triangle. It doesn't mean anything's wrong with your camera, it just means it's in the service mode, and it just functions just fine. One thing I want to touch on is the custom mode, and I've defined mine for slow motion. So if I just want to shoot some slow-mo video, just go to that setting, adjust the exposure, and you're ready to record. And as you switch over to the 1080p mode, you get a little bit wider field of view. That's because the 4K crops into the sensor a little bit, but it's not that much of a dramatic difference. To set up a custom mode, you can just go into the menus and have everything defined when you go to that mode. So for instance, I have 1080 at 60 frames per second, and then I have the shutter speed to 125, which is double the frame rate. So that's done automatically. All I have to do is just adjust the exposure and white balance, and I'm ready to go. So if you like the Panasonic G7 just as much as I do, make sure you leave a like. If you have any questions, feel free to write a comment and I'll respond to it.